Hi, it's Nick from Music Start. This lesson I'm just going to do a brief overview of how to play all 12 of the major scales. So if you've never played a major scale before, there's not really a great deal to it. If you know about keys, then it'll sink in quite quickly. So if you take any key, we'll just say C major for now. That was a C major chord, so it's obviously in C major. Now, all a major scale is where you play every note in the key from the bottom to the top, and then back down again if you were to do it in a classical fashion. So a C major scale, I'll show you what that looks like. So there on a piano, that's just all the white notes, so that's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and the same back down. So there, if you were to hear a song in the key of C major, unless it had lots of accidentals or modulated, they would be all the notes that would really be used. So that's C major. Now, every scale is the same, if that makes sense, and the way that is, there's actually a format each major scale moves in. So a scale is made up of intervals, so if you can see what I'm doing there, I'm hopping between notes. Now, some of those intervals are actually different jumps, even though I'm just moving up one key at a time. Some of the intervals are smaller than others. So if we look from the bottom, I'm going from a C, which is the start note, then I'm moving up a tone to the D, then I'm moving up another tone to the E, but here I just have a semitone between the E and the F. So between the 1, 2, 3 and 4, the third and fourth note of the scale, there's a semitone interval. So if we keep going up, the fifth note is G, 6 is A, 7 is B, and at the top we have another semitone to get back to the C. So what I mean by they're all the same is every major scale has that format where the semitones and the tones all fall into the same place in the scale. So that's between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. So there's a semitone, there's a semitone again at the top. So every other scale has that format. So I'm actually going to move up a semitone now into D flat, and I'm going to show you a D flat major scale, and you'll see that all of the locations of the tones and the semitones are relative to the C major as well. So here's a D flat major scale. So that's D flat, and same principle as before. You can see that the semitone is between the third and fourth note, so I'm going to count up the note. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a semitone between the F and the G flat. 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's another one between the C and the D flat. So if you watch my hands, I'm going to go through all 12 major scales, and I'm going to show you what all of them look like from C. So then I've gone through all 12 and I've ended on C again at the end. So although that sounds quite boring when you just play them moving up in a chromatic sequence, it's actually really useful to know. A lot of classical music, most classical music, is based on major and minor scales. Not only will they come up in the pieces that you'll learn, but you'll need to know how a scale is constructed in order to figure out modes, in order to figure out chord sequences, and even how to improvise as well. So they're very useful things to have under your belt. So I mean, if you just look at me do each one, you'll see where the semitones are. If you just remember it's between the third and fourth degree of the scale and the seventh and the eighth degree of the scale, you won't go wrong with your major scales.